That's right. Um, and apparently, before my mom was with her current partner, she was dating this guy. Was it that guy? Okay. His name was Keith, and he saw this girl, and he thought it was me. I don't have all the details for it, but apparently he saw me when I was not there. Another time, my mother went to the bathroom, and when she came out, well, before she went in, she thought I was sitting on the computer chair, and she went in, and I was not there because I wasn't actually there. It was this child. So yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is, Robert Murphy, if you wanna come up and put your input, because you do work with children, the most with the paranormal side, on her experiences and what, to, you're basically, but you're explaining what she's going to feel in the paranormal side, what she can do to find the evidence, what, because the kids, why am I doing this? Why am I going to, so basically, have to try to guide her. And I mean, I already know what's going on, but I'm going to give so, not that I'm better than anybody. I'm not. I'm not. I am. So
if everybody could introduce their names when they're
yeah,
speaking, that would be great.
Introduce yourselves. Tell them who you are, your team, and then what you've done, and then we can kind of like work on the baby. I say baby, but I know you don't want to do baby. No. All right, go ahead.
My name is Robert Murphy. I'm the founder of Elite Paranormal Society. Fortunately, I have the ability, have been able to go ahead and work with a lot of locations, both the individuals as well as the families that are having issues. And everyone is different. Definitely, none of them are cookie cutter. Everybody, every person. When we're dealing with a location, the biggest thing we have to overcome is ourselves. And parents play a huge role in that when it comes to the children. Depending on how the adults act in the house, the children will respond accordingly. If mom is, pretty stable, it doesn't really react that traumatic, it really doesn't perceive it as being a threat for the child. And that's very, very important. Too often that's not the case. They want to go ahead and lose their mind about it. It's going to terrorize the child. So for yourself, and thanks so much for sharing. It's incredible. There's a lot of people a lot of young people that go through it. They are more open than we are, more susceptible to seeing what's there that we cannot see. And, unfortunately, there's two sides to it. You can't really talk about it at school without somebody picking on you, trying to call you names. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, if you said you saw people or talked to people, they'd lock you up. Quite honestly, very common. It wasn't that long ago. So for individuals to be able to talk about it, that's a huge platform. Go ahead. So you're taking the best step you can take is to go ahead and step forward with it now. Now the person, Harold, this 9 foot, first thing I do is I like to plant a particular seed. What if he was only actually 2 foot and was kind of portraying himself as being 9? It can kind of build things in your mind. Our minds are a playground. The first thing I do is try to break it down. He was about, he kind of bent over and hunched over, right? Shock at first, but were you really scared of him? What's that? Kind of. How long were you scared of him? Were you scared the whole time you saw him or not? How quick did that wear off? The nice 30 minutes, wow. It would be a shock for anybody to walk into the room or look up in their room and see somebody, regardless, a stranger in the room. It would be a shock for anybody. So that's very common. To be over it in 30 minutes, that's pretty impressive. It's a strong individual. Most of us, as far as when we're uncovered, it's one thing to be uncomfortable, it's another thing to feel like you need to run out because you're scared. There's a difference. We're all wired. We're so busy with our own lives, we don't pay attention to the fact that we are wired to know when we're around evil and when we're just uncomfortable. That's the difference. When you get to that point, it's huge. For yourself, you're just learning this. That's one of the big thing you can do is network. You network. We got Lloyd Johnson right here. He can work with you as well and explain what she'll recap all of us here in a minute and explain what's going on. How long have you seen Harold for? A couple of months, and then you saw the baby. Remember that one pretty well. Did it scare you? And it was not what you want to see, but did it really scare you? For how long? A couple of minutes. Okay, most adults would have been scared for like a couple of weeks probably. So you're already ahead of the game. So what are you seeing now? Have you seen anything here? I'm sorry. What's that? That's gonna be easier so they can hear your answer to responses. So a lot of people, especially young people that have gifts, are going to people write text and say, "Hey, I'm it's not necessarily that they're going to have gifts. They're just between the two of us, if we were to go to a location, if somebody on the other side wants to talk to them, they know they're not getting anywhere with me, who are they going to do? There you go. Start. So ideally, keep networking. I'm not going to try to take all this. I keep a journal as far as the things are going. Very, very important to kind of help grow trends. And it's not uncommon to have these that pass through because we have loved ones. But you're more likely to have somebody who's more positive. Next member, go ahead and talk to you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Baltrusis. I'm an author and journalist. I am also a clairvoyant. So it sounds like that you are dealing with similar issues that I dealt with at your age as well. So what I'm getting from this, people don't know what a clairvoyant is. Clairvoyant actually sees dead people. So you're having visions. Do they ever talk to you? That you just see them? Okay, so I had similar. I was kind of like Danny Torrance from The Shining when I was a kid. So things would come to me. The 9-foot projection. I also got what this gentleman over here was saying, that it may be a spirit that is trying to scare you, and you didn't give it what it wanted. And also too, these spirits, they feed off of your energy. So they're getting your energy to try to communicate. So it's not. I mean, you don't want to give them your energy, but if you show fear, they're going to feed off that fear. So by not showing them the fear, they're like, wait a minute, I'm not getting the energy that I want. To give you some idea with me, so I've written 14 books. I'm also a producer for a TV show called The Haunting. Does anyone know the TV show Haunting? I was featured on the 100th episode of Haunting, and I actually, because of my gifts and my abilities, I had an attachment that nearly killed me. So that's the thing that I would be worried about with you. So I got an attachment. I was channeling, and I didn't know that I was channeling, and it took over my life. So have you had situations where it's kind of where you've lost consciousness at all, or you've always been conscious? Okay, I would just based on what I'm getting from you, I would be really wary of getting an attachment. Does everybody know what an attachment is? So attachment is just, if you don't know, is where you have like an energy that kind of uses you as a vessel. I have a problem also too, where for example, I was just in Gettysburg in the orphanage, and I was downstairs where a spirit walked into me, and so they're called walk-ins, and my face kind of morphs to the child that was in the orphanage. So sometimes you'll see photos of me where my face looks kind of like contorted and weird. So I see that happening with you as well. So I would really want to focus on the spiritual side of things on doing protection. So I do what is called the crystal shield of protection, and I'll do that right now. So I'm going to put the mic down. So what I do is I actually call in the higher power of Mary, shine a light going to the top of me, coming down to the top of my head. I breathe through my nose, in, out of my mouth. So I'm building a crystal shield. So it's kind of a shimmery, beautiful crystal shield around us. It's going to around you too. Ura Shokriyo, Ura Shokriyo, Ura Shokriyo. Shakare, 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 Sahiki, Sahiki, Sahiki. Communication, communication, communication. Protection, protection, protection. Unconditional love, unconditional love, unconditional love. Sonar, sonar, sonar. So it's a bubble of protection. So when you do crystal shield, it allows the good to remain without sin. So I would really focus on putting up on the shield of protection. Also to really focus on a white light of right. You're kind of vulnerable. So that's my 2 cents.
So, thank you, Sam. Vouchers. All right, so I really would like to have more of the paranormal, not just based on her, but there are a lot of people that deal with the paranormal, a haunting, spirits, activity, possessions. You don't have a possession. Number one, when we awaken to our true self, okay, our light. What happens is we're being tested with our faith, okay? So when you're tested with your faith, they want to see how strong you are. Because when you're scared, you're going to play off that. You're not scared. You're just like, what are you doing in my room? So I've gone through that. I was your same age at certain times of my life that I've gone through that it was like, you're not scaring me. I've had worse in my life. So you do put the bubble around you. It is your shield, your spiritual shield that's around you. And you put your favorite color around you. You're still young. How old are you? Okay, so you're a teen. So, you're probably coming out of it and it will come back for a while unless you're practicing with mom. Because I know mom is gifted. So, you do have it in your family to talk to mom. And if it's still confusing you, you got to remember, all of us have an opinion. All of us have different experiences in our life. So with Sam saying what he was doing and how he does it, that's what he learned for himself, because we all have different guides, different guardians, and that's the spiritual side. But if you want to do physical to understand, who you're to be, it's the paranormal side to understand. And you need to find, a kid's group. You've got Mike King, you've got Ernie Atwell, and you got Dave Seiler that actually work with children and myself. But at the paranormal side, it's better to see what they're doing to understand how to handle it spiritually. That way you're not ever alone. Just like they're never alone. You awaken to be the spiritual person that you want to be. If you choose not to do it, that's your choice. Just because you have it doesn't mean you have to go on with it. It's whatever you feel in your heart, okay? Don't let nobody push you in anything. And everybody has a story. And it is good to take a pencil and paper and write down what comes to you, what you see, because what you've done is if you release that. They're only coming to you. Maybe they need your love that you have for the understanding. It does bother me that you said a dead baby in the hallway. What would make that happen to a child? You're a child. I could be your grandma, just like, But the thing is, why would it happen to you? And that's what comes into our mind as being the young kid. Because you have the empathy of helping it maybe go, send it to heaven. Or, I'm sorry that this happened. You can use the empathy of helping it, but never let anything scare you. Because our fears create something that's not there. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is Mike, Dave, and Bernie, if you guys can come up and, on your experiences working with the children, as far as with the kids camp, can you help her paranormal side? So, you don't mind, right? It helps you.
Okay, so I got a couple questions. Okay, so my first question is before you saw what you saw, have you ever heard voices?
No.
Nothing ever. Okay. Have you ever thought about when you saw these things, asking them what they wanted, why they were there?
Bit of a shock when I saw them, so I don't know.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Okay, right. You said one appeared to be 9 feet tall. Okay. And for me, my experience as kids or anybody would be afraid at that point. You wake up out of your sleep, so something's going to look bigger than it maybe really is. But I'm not doubting you. I don't want you to think I'm doubting you. I'm just saying maybe it's not as big, and maybe you just take a second and say, "What are you? Why are you here?" Okay. You never know what's going to happen. So,
So let me ask you a question. If you were a disembodied spirit, you can't talk, and but you can kind of show yourself something. What's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to try to find somebody who can see, whether it be small or tall, right? And what are you going to do? Hey, I'm here. If you ignore them, they may pull on you. They're doing whatever they can. They may look 9 feet to get your attention. I'm here. Do you see me? Can you do that? So with that said, a lot of kids. One of them is a West Team Paranormal Group. Jody runs that. Once we're done, come see me. I'll make sure you have my information. Jody. He works on grounding the story. Can tell you all about grounding. You know that I Scooby Doo out of the way because I don't ground very well. I'm not like me, but these kids that Jody works with, it's amazing how they know how to do things. They can get reactions from what they're doing, and they support themselves. So that's one of the best teams around. You live around here? No? Yeah. So, we'll make sure you know how to get to Jody. You should have space. So, all right. Uh,
Now, based on the stories you told, okay, I've dealt with a lot of incidents like that. And keep in mind that everyone you speak with, whether it be myself, Dave, or Sam, or what perspective we're looking at it, everybody has their own theories that work for them and what they go on. Now, my theories alone, I see things. Now, when I say spiritually, I don't mean I have no gifts like Lori or Sam or anyone else like that. Everything all my evidence I have to work. But any encounter that I have or think that I view more spiritually than, if I encounter a spirit, to me, that's someone's soul. I don't classify it as energy. Okay. But in reality, it's the same thing. It's just my personal view on it. Now, keep in mind, there are some people that, like for me, for example, I highly believe in the paranormal. So my brain is kind of trained all the time to pick up on things. If you're a skeptic and you don't believe in the paranormal, you could have things happening right in front of you and you're going to miss it. And you're just going to say, oh, it's faulty wiring, or oh, that's it. If you write that off as, well, that could be faulty wiring making this electrical interference, you're right, it could be faulty wiring, but it also could be a spirit causing it. Okay? It's all in what direction you go. And also keep in mind, a lot of spirits will contact you because they have business, meaning they want to get a message to you, maybe to your neighbor, maybe to someone you don't know. And you might be the chosen one because you have a gift or that you believe, hey, we have to go to Reagan because if we go to Miss Mary down the street, she ain't going to, she's not going to contact us. And keep in mind that not everything, I mean, you have to keep your guard up. There are bad things out there. However, not everything is bad. It's just the amount of energy that the spirit has that enables the way that it contacts you. Dave and I had a lady call us saying that the devil's in her house. And I asked her, why, what makes you think the devil's in her house? And she said, well, the other day I was putting dishes away and my silverware's were. And I was like, okay. I was like, and continue. She's like, no, that was it. So I didn't want to make her feel funny, but she did not believe in the paranormal. So when she saw something physically move, her first thing was, oh, if it could do that, it's out to get me. So further interview with her, she told me that it was like 3 days away from the first year anniversary of her mom passing. Now, viewing it from a spiritual side, I said, just when you hang up the phone with me, when you're cleaning your kitchen, you're baking your whatever, speak to your mom as if she was standing there with you. There's no one in the house but you, so you're not going to seem crazy. Just talk to your mom, include her in your activities. And when you go to bed tonight, just say a prayer that your mom is where she needs to be or wants to be. And sure enough, I said to her, I don't hear from you on the way home. But apparently, she said a prayer for her mom and she laid down that. And she's never had an issue since. And that's another thing too that I strongly believe in. I would love to hear other people's opinions, but I think that spirits can come to you or give you a message while you're asleep. And I actually wrote a really good section in my book about it, because what inspired me to write my first and only book is the relationship between me and my grandfather, my religious upbringing. And when he passed away, I would say a prayer for him at night, but I would ask God to please, no matter what, I don't want to see him, because emotional, I don't think I could handle it. However, I said, I wish that I could have a sign to just let me know he's okay. So one night I went to sleep and I thought I woke up, but I was still sleeping. And I remember I was really thirsty, so I was coming down the steps and starting to make my way through the house. I could hear my family. And when I got downstairs, all my family was there, like having like a dinner party or something. And everyone was speaking to each other. And everyone was addressing me and I was speaking back, but I was in my pajamas and I was on a mission to get to the refrigerator. When I stepped into the kitchen, I saw my grandfather sitting in the chair. He always wore blue pajamas. And he was sitting there smiling. And I froze. And I looked at him and I said, Papa, I thought you were, and he goes, dead? And I said, yeah. And he just started laughing. He had a laugh he used to do. And he goes, I just want you to know that I'm okay. And I started to like tear up a little bit. And I went like this and I wiped my eyes. And when I opened my eyes, he was gone. And I automatically sat up in my sleep. And I was like, there's my son. That is what I needed. Now, whether that was just a dream or whether it was a vision, it gave me what I needed. So in conclusion, just when you have these experiences, from my standpoint, I like to keep in mind that it's there for a reason. It's up to that person that has that gift or has that interest or has that passion to find that reason because they may need some sort of help. You might be the one, like I said, they might want a message to little Miss Mary down the street, but you're the only one around that can do it. So just pay attention to all your senses and just be curious.
All right, everybody clap your hands for this young lady and her stories. Thank you very much. Hopefully it'll help. Hopefully it'll help. I mean, if you have any problem, just reach out. Mom knows how to contact. Reach out. Okay? Thank you very much. All right, so what we're gonna do now is, it's kind of weird because everybody works different, you know, even in the paranormal side. So if you want to come up and talk about the experience, why you got into it, and then, you know, like a story or not a story, but something that traumatically happened. You know what I mean? And then we're all going to go through it, and then you know, I know you get it. All right, so let's let Dana come up first, and let everybody knows Dana Mitchell, and she was on the Ghost of Shepherdstown.
Hello, and thank you. Yeah, I feel like I don't have a whole lot to offer with this esteemed group up here. But yes, I was in Ghost of Shepherdstown as the historian, which the actual historians of the town didn't particularly like. I wanted to be called a researcher, but they thought historian sounded better. I moved to Shepherdstown, West Virginia, in like 2005 from Maryland. I'm from Maryland, and I've since moved back to Maryland. And after a few years, I mean, there was this historic town that had been through so much, from the early Native Americans and the settlers that came through, and the Revolutionary War and French and Indian War and Civil War, and there was no historical tours. So I created a historical walking tour through the town called the Shepherdstown Mysteries Walk. I liked to focus stories on unusual things. And when I'd have people on my walk, they wanted to hear ghost stories too. I'd tell some of the locally known stories of the town. And then everybody, my customers, would take pictures, and they were getting things in the pictures, you know, apparitions and orbs. And I'm like, well, that's pretty neat. That too. Now, I have always been interested in the supernatural and the paranormal, but I really hadn't done anything about it. And I tell you, I went out one night on my own with my camera, and that was one of the most exhilarating nights I had because I took pictures all over town. And boy, did I get a lot of things in those pictures, which just, as everyone here knows, there is an unseen world around us. It's made up of spirits and entities and different planes of existence and portals, dimensions, and it's really all around us all the time. So I had had a number of experiences, but I was never afraid. It never frightened me. And I was going to say to the young lady here, I mean, I don't know what I could say that everybody else hasn't told her, but don't be afraid. And once, I mean, the spirits, when they're aware that your abilities are there and open, they're happy because they want somebody to communicate. If people are closed off or not interested, they can't get their story through, whatever it is they want. So they're going to be attracted to you. But you have power. You can say, no, not right now. You put something around you like you've been advised to today, and you decide. Nobody, I don't recall, has asked, is this something you want? Do you want to be able to see things and think maybe I can help people with this gift? Or is it something that you don't want? It's like, this is really disruptive to me, and I wish they'd just leave me alone. You have a choice. You can develop your skills and abilities and use it for your own and others' greater good, or you can say no thank you. And Lori and your mom and your teachers and mentors can show you how to do that. But you do have control, and because they are going to come to you because they know you're you're there, and yeah, you can say, not right now, thank you. I had a little spirit in I lived in Shepherdstown. I lived in a 160-year-old house, and I didn't have a whole lot going on in there, but I lived in a little house back in Maryland with my daughters, and we had this little spirit there that would run up and down the stairs, would move furniture around above us, always after. It was, but my daughter's friends were afraid. So one day I'm out, and my daughter calls me, her friends are over the house, and she says, Mom, the ghost is scaring my friends. It's jumping on the ceiling, like powder's coming down from the ceiling. And I said, just tell it to leave. And, and she did. And it left immediately. You know, she asked it to leave. She burned a little incense, and it left. It stopped on a dime, the jumping on the ceiling. And then she felt bad. And I said, well, whatever you do not invite it back. I said, because you don't know what would come through. I said, do whatever you do. I know, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss her. I said, too, because it was harmful. I said, but do not invite back. So, and I'm laying in bed. I don't like the way it feels at all. And I demand it leave. I demand it leave, and it left. And the next day I said to my daughter, did you invite the spirit back? And she said, now, Mom, don't do that. Because that's what happened. It's just an anecdotal story. And I don't have too much to say that hasn't already been said. So, bless you.
My name is Dan, lead investigator, New Jersey Ghost Detectives, Water Exorcist. Going back to your story, you got the paranormal side. I look for the more evil side. Okay, my job in the order is to determine whether there is an exorcism needed. So 9 times out of 10, so where I would start is we would sit you down, and dig into your history, dig into your past. Have you ever done anything with adults, anything like that, satanic rituals, anything like that? That's where we start. So basically, like what you guys said, once we get into the history, all that, yeah, we want to make sure that there's nothing more than just a human spirit. Just having fun, basically. So. Right. Yes. And I happen to be an ordained minister as well in the order, which gives me, I can bless your house, I can bless you, I can, do a few different things that I don't need permission from. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that doesn't stop me from you guys call for help. As I tell people, I'm paranormal 911. So when it gets that bad and someone calls me, they're basically calling the fire department, police department, whatever. So, and we have no problem working with anybody else. We conduct our investigation in conjunction, all that. So, anyway, I got into paranormal in high school in Gettysburg, and we've all been to Gettysburg. We were at Devil's Den, me, my father, and my brother, and I saw the Texans at Devil's Den. Didn't realize it until looked in the parking lot and we were there. Just our car and the weekend of the rain. So that's how I got into paranormal. And then I worked for the past 10, 15 years, I worked my way up to where I'm at now. So, and if anybody has any issues, feel free, call us. Just don't call us late for dinner.
Rainey has gone through a lot of paranormal activity, and I would like for her to come up, tell her story, and then you guys let us know what you feel off of that.
Hi, I'm Spring Giovanelli. I am on the board of directors at the Roundhouse. When I first moved here from York to West Virginia, we wanted something to do. We wanted to meet people. So we went to a little auction place on Main Street, and we met someone who said, "Oh, come to the Apollo Theater. They have haunted house there. You could do scare acting." My husband was all thrilled. So he went over there. I'm like, "Yeah, okay. See ya. Have fun." So the next night he said, "You gotta come. These people are amazing." I said, "That's okay. I'm doing my dishes." "Oh, come on. Come over. Come over." "All right. Maybe I'll meet you there." I had no intention at all. That was not going to happen. I don't do haunted houses. So he left, and I am in my house, and I'm loading my dishwasher, and I hear a crash. I'm like, "What?" I go looking all over, couldn't find anything that crashed. Finished cleaning up, went to go into the bathroom. My shower was on, shampoo bottles all over the floor. And I'm like, "Oh my God." I call him up. I said, "Mike, you left the shower on, really?" "I didn't take a shower. That wasn't me." I'm like, "Okay, I'll see you in a few minutes." And I left. And I went to the Apollo Theater, and I met the most amazing people there, from paranormal groups, scare actors. And that's how I got started being involved with people in the paranormal. Before that, tiny little incidences where an apartment we had, I would hear an old man moaning, or the house that we moved out of in New York, I would see a shadow figure every day. If I sat in my kitchen, I could look through into the living room, into the hallway outside my bedroom door, and I saw a shadow figure there going back and forth. I'd get scared, call his cousin, and she'd say, "Don't worry about it, it's fine, you're protected." That every day that would happen. Then here was more of a physical experience with shampoo bottle on the floor. And then when we got here to the Roundhouse, that's when things started waking up. Now I had the people I met at the Apollo Theater wanted to do paranormal investigations here. And that's when I started getting more involved and more involved. And then we had the Paracon here, and that's where I met Corey, Ernie, and Mike, and Dave, and so many people. And I really enjoy doing this. I do investigations. I am somewhat of a sensitive empath. I can feel spirits. I cannot communicate with them, but I feel what they feel. And I know that because there's a building right out there. And I can't go within 15 feet of it without feeling the pressure on my chest. And apparently somebody has said the reason I feel that is because the person in there had heart problems. And I'm feeling the pressure that he felt. People think that there's an evil presence in there because people have been scratched in there. They say it's a dark entity, stay out of there, stay out of there. And then after thinking about it and talking about it with my friend, we decided that's not a bad entity in there. In that shop, there was a big saw that would cut through a train rail in seconds. Why would any man working that want somebody like me anywhere near? So now I see it as a protective entity, but I still don't like to go near there because I still get that heaviness on my chest. And I have to have a lot of respect for the men and the people who worked here. It was a dangerous job. They worked hard, and we show a lot of respect to the spirits that are in this facility, and there are many throughout all of the buildings, from the sauce shop to the end of the bridge shop and upstairs. The grounds outside, it's an amazing place. I love it here at the Roundhouse. I love having everybody from the paranormal field, and I've met the greatest people because of here at the Roundhouse. And I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
I also want Ted to get his butt up here and also talk about his experience. So Ted's coming up.
I
No,
just-
we're not.
I want to elaborate. on something this gentleman said, and something that popped into my mind. A lot of times, and this, let's say, for example, when I'm not out on the road or work, whatever, I'm a homebody. I love to be home. It's my happy, safe space. So I like to say, I always joke and say, when I pass away, if I'm going to pawn something, yeah, that's where I like to be. A lot of times, we all have found out the spirit will present itself as something evil or malevolent or even demonic for the simple fact to scare you. Now, you see on TV a lot of these investigative shows, they'll come in and be challenging and daring and threatening. I dare you to hit me, scratch me, touch me like you did this homeowner. That's not good. If I'm in my house, whether I'm dead or alive, I don't want a strange bunch of people coming in with all kind of cameras and equipment and daring me and threatening me in my own home. So a lot of times spirits just want people to hell out of there. So they'll present themselves as like, well, you know what? I'm going to ramp it up a little bit tonight, try to scare these people out of here. So a lot of times, now I'm not saying that there isn't evil or nothing like that, but a lot of times you'll get a spirit that wants to rest, and they will present themselves in a different fashion. And that's their sole purpose, just to simply scare people or make them think that they're of a level.
A little better. Hello, everybody. I'm Ted Van Son, as the preacher said. I've been an investigator for 37 years. I just celebrated that. Author. I'm also the owner of a internet network. Has TV shows, has radio shows, podcasts, so on and so forth. I started in this field when I was 7 years old. That's when I got my interest, and that's when I said, you know what, I need to know, I need answers. And I saw my grandmother come to me, kiss me on the cheek, tell me she'd see me in the morning, and that's how it started. But I didn't know that she had died the afternoon before. So that's how I got it. I started doing investigations on my own when I was a teenager, doing things, and I tell the story all the time, and most of you will remember them. The tape players, the recorders, that were the box that had the handle that you walked around with. Yeah, try using a zip tie or tying it to your string and trying to record and walking while you get but still did it anyways. I've seen a lot of things over the years, things that I can't explain. My investigations are pretty much not like what you see on TV. They're not normal. Because I've got to say that everybody else is normal because more people do that the way I do. My investigations last for years. They don't end. I always go back. I always keep records. I always try to, for me, I'm such a thinker that if there's something I can't explain, I will keep going back to years after years after years. years until I come up with an answer. And if I don't, then I guess I pass on and find my answer once I get to the other side. Who knows? You know? I did want to say to the young lady that your story is not uncommon. It's very common. You're at the age right now to be becoming a woman, so there is something in the old school, you know, as experience goes, because you're becoming a woman, starting to blossom. The energies are being released from you, and things could happen. Okay. Is that what's happening? I don't really know, but that's what I can tell you from what I know from the past, the experiences that I've had. But at the same time, a couple of things. If you're going to continue on with this, here's some advice. One, keep a notebook of everything that happens. Two, if you cannot remember every detail the first time, the next time it happens, remember more. Because every time you remember things like that, the details, it kind of fills in that story. It's like a giant puzzle. More pieces get added to it. And then eventually you should have a better picture of what's happening. Try not to exaggerate what happens. Because we all know, especially in the paranormal, pareidolia is a big factor in everything that we do. I mean, I sit on the border of skeptic and believer. And the only reason I sit there is because I need to have both sides. You can't just sit there and say, yes, I believe you. Personal experiences are important, but it's not proof. To you, it's proof, but to other people standing outside, it is not. You actually have to work for that, you know, and so it takes time. That's why when I say an investigation takes me months, years, and so on and so forth, that's because you should never give up on an investigation. One. Two, you never have all the answers. Three, we don't even know what's out there. We have no proof that any of it physically exists. But we have faith, we have stories, we have people from the past. Every civilization that we've known and researched has believed in either reincarnation, spirits, ghosts. They have that stuff. So if it's lasted 10,000 years in stories, the way I was raised, in every story there's an ounce of truth. It's for you to figure out what the truth is. So you never give up on it. But if you take your stories or your incidences and you start keeping record of them and try to focus, like if you wake up from that, write it immediately because it's still fresh in your mind. You know, see eventually, because you're young, you've got a long ways to go. So you're going to be able to take these stories and go back and say, I remember this, but now I remember a piece that I didn't have before. And hopefully that story will keep getting bigger and brighter for you. Until a spirit or something in your home hurts you, scratches you, gives you fear, do not be afraid. Because you're feeding them. That's what you don't want. Okay. I studied theology. I have been ordained since 1993. I have gone through every civilization, religion. I've gone through everything because I needed the knowledge to be where I am today. I've been on TV shows. I've done, like I said, I own my own network. I've given lectures for many, many years. I've written books, stories. I've done all of that. And that comes from research. That comes from putting everything that I have worked for forward. It's not my belief. It's the work that I put. And that's what helps me inspire people and get better. I'm an exception to the rule to most paranormal groups. But they all have a basis. They all have a base where they start and they try to find answers, their beliefs, and everything. Try to juggle so much, and it's so hard that when you're a real life ghost buster or ghost hunter, it's not what you see on TV. It's every little thing has multiple sides. So you have to keep digging, you have to keep searching, you have to keep finding to see if you can get any closer to where you were in the beginning. And I think everybody that's been here knows that. They know that they can't just go with the flow. They have to research it more. And one more thing, education is your friend. The more knowledge that you collect about your gifts or the things that are happening, the more answers you're gonna get. And it's gonna help you throughout your life. So don't ever give up. If you follow through, to decide to do that. Read, watch stories, talk to other people, get that information, because that's what's gonna help. So that's it for me. I've been around a long time, and I'm there to help anybody that needs it. Questions?
So while Ted was talking, there was just one thing that he brought up. Not saying that that you have as a demon or anything like that, but being you're sensitive and all that, you can see that it leaves you open. Okay. You want to keep your guard up at all times, protect yourself. I protect myself with Jesus Christ and God, my religion, all that. I'm getting into the stones and stuff like that. I have spiritual people on my team. Okay. But one thing I did want to mention is demonic entities will go after children before they'll go after adults. Okay. So you just want to keep that in the back of your head and keep your guard up at all times. Yes.
In this world, sorry, because we can actually create a story and create something that's in our young children's minds or people that are naive of TV land. So not everything that you hear is true, or they exaggerate the truth. So believe in your, you know, it's that's we have to learn to believe in ourselves. We just because it's said doesn't mean it's true. All right, I got. Thank you very much for being here, guys. I'm shutting down. I'm kind of like shutting down, but thank you very much, Ted.
Yeah.
You rock. You know that.
Oh,
Yeah. Did you have a question, Pete? What's your question?
well, there's a statement.
You gotta get louder than the redhead.
Got it. Laying them out or waiting around some whatever and make a big grade like that.
We learn, yeah, but you gotta understand something. Not everybody's the same. Just because Sam does what he does and what I do, she has to learn what makes her feel comfortable with her own realm.
So how would you do for kind of a so okay. That's
It's her turn. Yeah, but I
Well,
mean,
it's because it's actually because of faith. It's what you believe,
Exactly.
and that's what gives you the protection. You're you're indigenous people. Now, my mom is indigenous. My mom is Seneca Indian. Her belief is that if you use sage, sandalwood, anything like that, that's all natural, you use that, you put the smoke over yourself, it protects you. There's certain chants that they use. There's certain things that they believe. It's all here. It's all here. And right. Right. So it's just stuff that you put as a belief. You know what I mean? It's just all belief. It helps you. Um, it does it. It takes your core belief and just makes it stronger. And if you believe that you're protecting yourself, it just gives you that extra, that extra boom. So yeah, he probably did. And that's not what you meant. I understand. No, 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 no. I understood. Right. No, I get it. I think he's going through something. His dad. Okay. you know, it is what it is, you know, but, it's tough. You know, in a world where everything is supernatural or spiritual or paranormal. Oh no, I get what you're saying, but it's her core belief. It's like if she believes in God, then that's her praying is the same thing as having that
All right, Robert wants to say something, and this actually makes a lot of sense for all of us. All of us.
Uh, Again, as far as talking about people with gifts, I love having people with gifts in the field, but more so than that, so often what we come across is we see where people can be separated. Adults can be separated because their significant other doesn't believe. That's horrible. Children in particular, you know, not having that support. But I'll say to anybody that has abilities, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broke. You're not weird. You're not strange. You absolutely belong. And that goes for yourself and everybody else's lips make our options. It's very, very important for us to make that point across to everybody. If you're having a problem, that reach out. Say, as I told you earlier, Paranormal 101 has several children, you know, several younger, we call children, several younger adults that are going through it. And you can have somebody that's walked your shoes, that are walked your path, you know, in the same shoes that you're walking now. They can already, it gives you, you can relate to a lot of it. Just want to make that point. We need to not go ahead and isolate individuals just because, you know, they're already feeling different too.
That goes the world for everything, just to be honest.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. In our field, what we can address right now, though, is that children are a big deal for me by far, and people overall. But don't ever feel isolated. You can reach out to any of these adults and they'll tell you. Just like a grown-up, we're not going to treat you anything. A lot of us have seen things. That we appreciate the fact that somebody like yourself would speak up because there's so many people that would not speak. So thank you so much. Anybody else have any?